a few years back here on Yahoo Auction, I was watching, and a trinaural came up. Trinaural, of course, means the two for me and one for a camera. And it had with it in the auction the camera, the stand, all the little doodads that have to attach back and forth. And it was, nobody else bid on it. It's about $500. So I got it. So I have here in the workshop in a box somewhere, I have a trinaural microscope with a camera attachment up on top. But, now we did quickly test it when I got it, but, the camera that comes with it is a CCD type camera. It only gives a tiny X100 by X100 view. It's only black and white, and the microscope itself is a much stronger type. It only shows maximum, the area that I see when I look down through it is only about 1 centimeter. So this is a really stupendously strong microscope, probably for some medical imaging or something, I have no idea. So it's useless for me. I can't work when all I can see inside the microscope is 1 centimeter. So I chatted with somebody about this one day, some guy who was here who knew lots about these microscopes, and he said, that's okay, that's no problem, just swap the lenses out between the two scopes. So take the lens setup that's on this scope, which is perfect for what I do, gives me a good field of view, and it isn't too close, isn't too far away. He said swap the lenses out with the other one. So I'd get the best of both worlds. I could have the view that I want, and it would be an attachment for a camera. And he said is also, you can get, forget the camera that came with it, just get an attachment for a normal Handycam, whatever. So if I can put that together, and I got no time to play with it right now, but if I could put that together, then what we would do, what these Twitch streams would be, is obviously I would be seeing this binaurally, but binocularly, and you would be seeing exactly, from my point of view, exactly the same thing that I see. And my God, it wouldn't get any better than that, but just it's going to take a bunch of fooling around, swapping lenses and microscopes. Like, do I know how to do that, But yeah, maybe that's, I don't know. Excuse me. Maybe that's coming up. Twitch stream Mark II, we'll see. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it, just let it come as a surprise one day. Offline, is that me or you? Let me check then. I'm showing 0 dropped frames here, so I'm putting it out up to Twitch, I believe, if I understand the software correctly. It says live 11 minutes, CPU 10%, dropped frames 0. I'm not sure about the dropouts, guys. My end is showing full broadcasting. I'm on a high bandwidth system at this end here. This comment about the microscope, if you put the camera in, it drops the normal person's view down to one lens. I don't think so, because we did test this when I first bought it. We didn't do any streaming with it, but I did test it, because I had read about that kind of system. This microscope seems to be not that type. The normal binocular view is running all the time, and whether you connect something up to the third one or not makes no difference. It's not something you switch in and mirrors flip back and forth and stuff. So unless I severely misunderstand it, I think it's okay. The operator gets binocular view, and the camera just rides over top of this thing to watch what's going on. We did test it. Anyway, it's not something that's going to happen today or tomorrow. This is fine for now. Yeah, the Kickstarter delay thing I see is a message there about this. I know. Actually, Jed, I think, is on this chat, so he can maybe talk a bit more about it, because it's going through him. The Kickstarter, you know, it's officially it's Jed's Kickstarter, the same as the last one 5 years ago. He and I are partners in making the prints, but Kickstarter has to be run by a person. And Jed is the guy, because it runs through Kickstarter over in America. So Jed's the official Kickstarter man, and they have requested to him that we delay it for a bit. Also, too, I forgot, speaking about this live streaming thing while Jed's here, I heard from Jed this morning when I was chatting with him over Skype that he did a stream yesterday or the day before. He started streaming himself. It's not Twitch. He used Instagram, which I didn't know was possible. So Jed's on that Instagram thing. Is that going to be a link that's always the same all the time you can drop to people? Or how does it work? Do they go to your Instagram page? I have no experience here. How do people know when it's coming? You mean anybody on Instagram who's a follower or whatever they call them, right? Do you have to be an Instagram member to see this? Like, I can see your Instagram page. I'm not a member. Yeah, the Kickstarter thing in Japan, I know I've been to a few meetings with them here. They've been thinking about this for a long time, easily over a year, and they've been getting advice, whatever feedback, what's the word, from people like me who live in Japan who have experience with Kickstarter. And from my point of view, the way they've done it is not optimal. Skype, just have to ignore it. I'm going to try Skyping when we're doing this, even if the video would do it. Let me drop that guy a quick email. Excuse me just a second. Hey, sorry. I've lost the chat. Now what's going on? Here you are. On this block now we're going around and around these seaweeds and anemones, and if today is a good productive day, if there's not too much stuff in the shop to take me away from this, then I might be finished the anemones today, the seaweed. And we get ready to start the octopus skin, all those dots and the suckers. But I shouldn't be that optimistic. I was off yesterday, out of here yesterday, so there's probably, as soon as the staff gets here, they're going to line up. Dang, Dave's on early today. This is the normal time, I think. 8 o'clock Japan time. For the morning session. Evening for Europe, but the morning for Japan. If I get a chance to do another one this evening for Japan, it'll be 10 hours from now? I'm not sure. Just a minute. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Somewhere around 10 hours from now. If. Picky part there. How did the recording go for the YouTube video? The YouTube video is now in the can. With one exception, the interview with Suga-san, the printer, didn't get done. She had to leave. No, this is not yesterday, the night before. She had to leave before I had a chance to do it. So all the content is ready about the printmaking and stuff, but I haven't done an interview with Sugasan, so I'm not sure what her schedule is. If she'll be in today, we'll do it today. And that video will be up tonight. If she's not here today, I have to decide what to do. Just do it without her interview or wait. So I'm not sure, I'm sorry. There's also something else. I don't know if I mentioned what else I did with this one. There's 2 prints on each one. There's the yokai, the Kyosai yokai, the old reproduction. And there's Jed's one. And I scanned every step of her work along the way for both of them. So I've got a full set of scans, step-by-step printing. So I've got to also process those and pull them into the video somehow so that you can see maybe some kind of slideshow thing inside the video where the print comes to life. I don't know. That may take a bit of time, so I don't know if it'll be tonight or not. I'm sorry. Average difficulty. That's a tough question because this one's mixed. I know. This stuff I'm carving now, these seaweed and things, this is nothing. It's just straight ahead. I know there's a lot of it, but that's okay. That just takes time. This is very basic stuff. And if you can see what I'm doing, I carve from the left like this, and I come in from the right, pop out a triangle. It's really basic, classic carving here. The kind of stuff that I learned to do many, many, many years ago. So that's no big deal, that part of it. And this is great because I'm really out of shape, which is why I started with the seaweed part of this print. That part of it's no problem. What will be different is the hair. You know, when I get to the, where are we? I can't see here. When I get to the short hairs and then up on her face. That's top level work, and right now, today, as I sit here, I'm not in shape for that. So hopefully over the next week, couple of weeks, while I chop away at these octopus and seaweed details and stuff, I get myself reasonably back in shape for that. I'm sorry, on a vague answer to the question, average difficulty, you know. For an experienced professional carver, this one's no big deal. And printing is not going to be a problem either. It's, you know, there are no gradations on this. It's flat color. The original wasn't some masterwork. It was just a book page, an open book page, left page and right hand, carved on different blocks so that they would open together. It was very much, you know, I don't mean hack work in the sense of a junk job, but it was, yeah, it was hack work, just book publishing, bang, 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 get it done, get it done, get it done. And we'll be talking about this in a video later, that the original prints, you know, the book pages of this design, they show really, really hasty carving, you know. The guys banged in all over the place, and it wasn't fine art at all. I mean, they were making porn, you know, I mean, what? There's more things we're going to have to talk about this when we get closer to actually, you know, producing this and printing it and putting it on the website. There's a number of things that people are confused about this design. A couple of years back on American TV, the program Mad Men, is it cable TV or whatever? I don't know. I don't have access to it. This image was featured in the Mad Men program. If if you Google around, whatever, you can find it. But what they did was, the original size and shape for them as a book page, it was really, really small. Didn't suit their use in the program. So they blew it up in Photoshop. Put it in a frame on the wall. And it was big. I don't know how big. 40, 50 centimeters wide or something, which is way, way, way bigger than the original. And I myself, I've blown it up. By how much? I don't know. Ours is going to be, what have I got here? Like 33 or so centimeters wide, which is maybe 1.5 bigger than the original. So. But what I'm afraid of is that once we get this thing ready and selling and people order it, then they'll receive it and they're used to the Mad Men thing, some giant picture on the wall. They'd be disappointed. So I've got to really make sure people understand what this thing is that we'll be selling. You know, show an image that has scale. Hang it on the wall, stand next to it. And they had the overlapping. Yeah, this stuff is tough. In here where it's just a jungle. This is tough. You know, the head hairs, where they just come out one by one. Sup, 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 sup. It's not trivial, but it's more straight ahead. But the overlapping jungle of hairs, yeah. But then, of course, you've also got the good side that nobody is going to inspect those things one by one by one. So what you want is the effect. Whereas if there's the head hairs side by side, one by one by one, if one of them chips or one of them's wrong, it really, really sticks out. So it's plus minus. But anyway, as I said at the moment, we're saving that up for a couple of weeks from now, because I can't do it right now, that's for sure. I'm sweating again already, and it's, what is it, 8:30 or something here in Tokyo. Yeah, the designers saw. Even on a print like this, there's no way the designers would have drawn this hair. Absolutely. It was so small, you know. Pointless. One, they couldn't do it. Second, there's no reason for them to try and do it. So they would just draw the face, the eyes, nose, whatever, and then just with a wash of paper, chop, hair, here. The carvers would just carve it. They wouldn't want that one by one little stuff getting in their way, you know. So for me, it's a little bit different. We've touched on this before. You know, when the original carvers carved stuff, they were carving brushwork. But when you're making a reproduction, you're not carving brushwork, you're carving a previous carver's interpretation of the brushwork. So in that sense, I have a whole lot of less freedom than they did. I'm supposed to carve, you know, just exactly what I see. And there's a paradox there. I know it's a bit complicated to explain, I'm not sure. When we print, the amount of pressure that the printer uses, you know, is totally variable, instant by instant, as the tool moves across the back. And if you put pressure in a little bit more, the lines thicken up a little bit, get a bit wider. If you put the pressure in a little bit less, the lines are clear, but maybe they're not black enough. So each and every sheet, there's a balance between how much pigment they put on, how much pressure they use, how quickly they do it. And with an ideally perfect printer, when you look at each sheet, they're all just the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, just the same. In the real world, the closer you look, the more you'll see little tiny differences between them. So when I come along to make a reproduction, I only have one copy. You know, I had a really good clean copy of this from my friend Wede-san. But that's just one printer's version one day of how that thing was pulled off the blocks. Now I know all this, of course, so I look at it and I think how much of that thickness in that line right there is carved, and how much was it that it blew up just a little bit because the printer used a bit too much pressure. We really talked about this a lot when I was doing the Great Wave. It was a hugely difficult question for me. What did the shape of the original block look like? So when I was tracing this, making the tracing that you see on my wood here, every single dot and every single line, I'm trying to think about that. Is that what the original shape was, or did that balloon up a little bit from the printer? So you don't carve what you see, you carve a block that prints what you see. If that makes any sense. Here, okay, here, there's a V shape here. If I cut right exactly on that line, then the print made from this block, the pigment will fill in the corner a bit, and that V will be a little bit bigger than the V I see here. So what I do here, I go back into the black area just a tiny bit, cut this out, and then when the printer comes to do this, his pigment will fill just a little bit in this V, and his print will look like the one that I'm carving here. So you don't carve what you see, you carve a block that will print what you see. In theory. Now, how well I can do that all. And it really matters, you know. That one little tiny V I mentioned, no one's going to notice it. It doesn't matter at all. But the overall effect is absolutely visible and palpable. If I carve in general terms, a little bit wider, a little bit wider, a little bit wider, then the whole block looks dark and turgid. If I carve in general terms, a little bit narrower, a little bit narrower, a little bit narrower, the whole block can lose body. It looks a bit too weak. It looks overall weak. So you can't see this as you're going. It's all a question of experience. If I do it this way and keep on going this way, then months from now when we're printing, it'll look like such and such. I've got a huge advantage here because I also print. Most carvers don't, but I know what's going to happen once it gets to the hand of those goddamn printers. I know. Oh, chat, I'm sorry. Back up a little bit. Yeah, Jed, put good art here. Okay, Jed, go ahead, try it. It might be a bit too soon for that. In the old days, I'm not too sure how much is real and how much I'm making up and how much I'm thinking of my own experience here. But when I did my Surimono albums, 50 images in 5 years, I specifically chose them to try and, stretch out my technique. And one thing I really, really, really learned in that one, because I did Hokusai, I would do Hiroshikai, I would do an unknown designer. It wasn't 50 different people, but it was a ton of different people. And in simple terms, when you're carving a Hokusai print, you don't become Hokusai, but you have to think, what's the guy's style? How would he do this? And they're all different. So you get more jagged, jerky, rough with Hokusai, or a bit more smooth and elegant and genteel with Shunsho or something. And Jed's style, maybe he's pretty young, and he's also experimenting with a lot of different stuff. So I don't know that there is a Jed style yet, where he could just roughly sketch it, send it to me and say, finish it off, I don't think we're in that position. I'm not that good, and he needs to define pretty well what he wants. What's the ultimate end? Give me a title. Let us go. Yeah, right. The slight cut into the black was intentional. Well, maybe all of them aren't. I don't know. Yeah, that Jed style thing, that's the thing, you know. I know, obviously, Jed's still young, he's experimenting, he's exploring, we're exploring the whole thing. But if we keep it up, at some point, there's a body of work that, you know, someone can look at and analyze, and there it is. Jed does his brush that way and this way and that way. And there will be characteristics that show that somebody who's good at analysis, whatever, would be able to tell. That's a Jed Henry, because look at this. Look at the way the brush moves there, there, and there, you know. I haven't really been thinking about it in those terms, but yeah, that would be a thing, because everybody's consistent. In Jed's case too, because he does it all by himself, as opposed to, you know, Kuniyoshi, who had a stable of dozens of apprentices and other people working with him. The old guys, you know. Jed's stuff is all directly from his brush. Where am I? What's next? Should we finish off that bit? Drink, drink. Ay, 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 ay. Where next? I think we back up a bit up here. Where am I? Yeah. This corner. Dripping all over this block. Sharpening, I know. Well, sharpening is before I started. This wood is not the hardest wood in town, which actually might be a bit of a problem later on. So it's hanging on pretty well. But what I should do, somebody asked me about this, just was it yesterday or the day before. So what I should do is when I do tomorrow's session, if I'm here tomorrow morning, I should wait for the sharpening until the camera's on and then do the sharpening on camera first. And as I mentioned, I keep a couple of knives here so that I don't have to stop and sharpen during the session. So just switch out to another one. Get them both ready before I start. So yeah, maybe tomorrow we'll do that, sharpen at the beginning.